Now your Bibles are open to 2 Kings chapter number 20. On the program yesterday, I left the radio dealing with the matter of the sundial. You remember that Hezekiah had asked for a sign, and we find this in the writings of Paul in 1 Corinthians, where the Apostle Paul says the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. Now, I'm not promoting the idea of sign seeking. I'm not promoting that at all. You and I that are justified by the grace of God, we are to live by faith and not by sight. We simply take God at His word. We believe that God will accomplish His will, that God will work His will out, that the will of God will be done. And we leave these matters in the hands of the Lord. I think it might be a matter of unfaith for the born-again believer today in this dispensation to do what Hezekiah did in his dispensation under the matter of the law and say, what sign will the Lord give me that He's going to heal me and that I'll go up into the temple and I'll worship there in the temple in 3 days. You and I, with being faced with this situation, should simply take God at His word. We should just believe that God will do what He said He would do. God said He was going to heal me. God said I was going up to the temple the 3rd day to worship, and I believe God. I take God at His word. Remember that Hezekiah lives in a different dispensation. He lives under the matter of the law, and so God was not angry or displeased by this at all. And Hezekiah answered, and Isaiah said, verse number 9, this sign shalt thou have of the Lord, that the Lord will do the thing that He has spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees? So when Isaiah said, or Hezekiah rather, said to Isaiah, I want a sign. I know that God has said that He's going to heal me and that I'm going to go up to the temple to worship in 3 days. I understand that. But I want a sign. 3 days is a long time from now, and I've been a sick man, and I'll have to lay in this sick bed for 3 days until I'm able to go up to worship. I want a sign from the Lord. And Isaiah says, all right, God will let you choose a sign. Shall the sundial go forward or go backward by 10 degrees? Shall it go forward or go backward by 10 degrees? Now, that is an interesting statement, and I think I gather something from this. I believe in the sovereignty of God. There's no doubt about it. The Bible is full of the sovereignty of God. Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose. God is orchestrating all things well. God is doing all things well. But understanding that we serve a sovereign God, the Lord still does not treat men like robots. And men have some autonomy. Some call it free will. I don't know that necessarily that I would call it free will. But men are autonomous creatures. You know, the government says, well, we're going to drive everybody into electric cars, and we're going to drive all of this, and we're going to drive all that. And you know, the human family is autonomous. They're not like a machine. You take a part off, put a part on. And because of that, we've seen men dragging cars that have been down in the woods for 10 years, dragging them back out, and putting them back on the road, repairing them, fixing them. My mother laughed. She said, if the government keeps this up, we'll look like Cuba before it's over with, and everybody be driving 35-year-old cars up and down the highway. And if they say, well, we'll just cut off all the fuel. Well, they can't do that because they, the oligarchs, ruling class, they fly around on private jets. And somebody says, well, they'll cut off the fuel. Well, an American entrepreneur will figure out a way to fuel our automobiles. I mean, men are autonomous. You push them over here and they'll respond by going over there. You say, well, we're going to stop this. We're going to make this happen. And there'll be pushback and kickback over here. Men are autonomous, and God oftentimes gives men the opportunity to make decisions. And I'm sure that there are decisions that have been made in the course of my life by me, and then there have been decisions made by some around me in the course of my life that have had a definite effect on who I am, what I am, why I am what I am, why I believe what I believe. All of these decisions made by my mother and dad, by my grandparents, by my great-grandparents, by my great-great-grandparents, and all of these things have worked together and orchestrated themselves together to bring me to the place I am today. So Isaiah from the Lord gives Hezekiah an offer. Shall the sundial go forward 10 degrees, or shall the sundial go back 10 degrees? Now, either way, this is going to be a miracle. I think Hezekiah might have missed the point on this, and Hezekiah answered, it is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees. Well, obviously, the sundial, the shadow, was going down 10 degrees. But it was going down according to the movement of the earth in its rotation on its axis in relation to the sun. It would have been a miracle if God had sped the earth up to make the sundial move forward by 10 degrees more rapidly than the normal time. That would have been a miracle. But Hezekiah says, well, that's not anything. The sun's setting anyway. The shadow is already moving forward. Nay, but let the shadow return backward 10 degrees. And Isaiah the prophet cried unto the Lord, and he brought the shadow 10 degrees backward, by which it had gone down in the dial of King Ahaz, in the dial of Ahaz. Now, this is a very interesting thing. It's a miracle either way it goes. I was reading after one man, and he said that this was an incredible miracle. It's interesting to me that we use the words and don't know what they mean. If I say something is incredible, that means it has no credibility. It has no credibility. The worst thing you could do is say Ben Carper is an incredible preacher. That would not be a compliment. That would be an insult as far as I'm concerned, to say that I am an incredible preacher. No, I hope that I have total credibility when I stand in the pulpit to preach. I hope that my ministry and message is possessed entirely of credibility. I hope if I say something, you would say, well, if Brother Carper said it, you can go deposit it in the bank because what he has said is true. It was a credible miracle in either regard. If the sundial moves forward 10 degrees rapidly or moves back 10 degrees rapidly, it is a miracle either way. Now I recognize that the scoffers and the skeptics would say, well, there's no way for this to happen. There must have been an eclipse of the sun. There had to be some physical phenomena. There had to be some natural phenomena for this to happen. Who has ever heard of the sun backing up? Well, in Joshua's day, who had ever heard of the sun standing still? And yet I certainly believe that Moses prayed and the sun stood still, or Joshua prayed and the sun stood still to allow Joshua time to defeat the enemy. You see, what the scoffers and the skeptics fail to remember is Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare